Ladies and gentlemen, if I'm here on a weekend, you know it's for a good reason. And this time, rightfully so, it is a good reason, ladies and gentlemen. WWE is here in Las Vegas for the first time ever at UFC Apex, right down the street from the station. Tomorrow, NXT Battleground. It gets no bigger. There's literally like a handful of tickets left, access.com, and you can watch it exclusively on Peacock starting at 4 p.m. here in Las Vegas. And joining us is the NXT Women's Champion, Roxanne Perez. Roxanne, how are you, love?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm great. Thank you for bringing the gold along. It looks gorgeous. That's a beautiful belt. And look, there's a lot of stuff we need to get into, and I know I don't have that much time. So first and foremost, the streets want to know, are you and Sexyy Red besties now or what?
I mean, I guess you can kind of say that. She's besties with my little sister now. You can say that. My little sister is like obsessed with Sexyy Red. She's like 17 years old. And when I met Sexyy Red, I was telling her this. And I was like, do you mind? Like, it's my sister's graduation weekend. Like, would you say hello to her?
Yo!
Like, yeah, she was so nice. And I FaceTimed her and she twerked on the phone for my sister and it was a whole lot of stuff.
Yo, first off, Best Sister Award goes to you. Second of all, and letting her listen to that music goes to you. Shout out to you. That's awesome.
That's my mom.
Yeah. Well, we won't tell mom. We promise. One thing I want to ask you, though, like when it comes to NXT is like, obviously for people that love NXT, like the black and gold era is the attitude era for NXT, right? And when they made that transition, there was a lot of doubters. I was one of them. I'm like, what is all these colors? Like, what is going on? This is not what I fell in love with. But we looked to the past NXT episode that we had earlier this week, and the ratings were huge. It was a massive success, and there's so much momentum heading into this event tomorrow at the Apex. Like, how much pride do you have to see NXT where it's at right now, where everything is going crazy?
Oh my gosh, so much pride. Like, you don't understand, because I can agree with you. Like, I grew up watching the black and gold era. That's what I wanted to be a part of. So when NXT 2.0 started, I had just gotten signed and was getting pushed on TV pretty quickly, and it was obviously like a different thing for all of us to kind of like explore and figure out like what exactly is NXT 2.0 going to be. And Shawn Michaels did like an amazing job at creating it and helping us create it as well. And now to see, we just had the biggest stand and deliver of all time. And now we're having another history-making moment, groundbreaking moment of the first ever WWE NXT TNA crossover. And I get to be a part of that. I get to be a part of that history. And I'm so excited.
Amazing. And you talk about that history. I also forgot to mention, like with all this success, I'm going to be very frank and honest. It's being led by the women. Look at this card. Look at all these matchups. Look at the matchup that you're involved with that we'll talk about here coming up. But the other thing that's really cool is obviously this NXT Women's North American title, which someone will be handed that at Battleground for the first time ever. And for the longest time, there's always been this conversation of why don't we have an intercontinental title type equivalent for the women? And you could say that for a lot of different places in wrestling. And NXT is the first one to kind of step up and give us this opportunity to have this title and more toys to play with, for lack of a better term. Like, is it safe to say that you're proud that that is also being led by you and some of these changes as well?
Oh my God, yeah, like so proud. And it gives me goosebumps every time I hear that we literally have a women's North American championship, because it's like another big step in the women's evolution, and I like thank Shawn Michaels so much for that, for allowing us to have that, for giving us that, because you can tell just how much he really cares about women's wrestling. And you can see that every single NXT Tuesday, like you see how much work he's putting into the women's storylines and giving us another women's championship. Like, that is such groundbreaking stuff. It's so cool, and I'm so glad that I get to lead the brand as NXT Women's Champion.
And this year too, you've kind of how do I put this? You've gotten to explore your character and give us some sides that we didn't know. So just for you personally, like obviously getting to explore this means it's different and you're trying out things. How much fun have you had this year getting to explore?
Oh my God, I've had so much fun. My whole entire career, I've had to, play it safe and be the good guy. And now I get to step out of my comfort zone and, show everybody that, no, you can't walk all over me. You can't underestimate me. I am called the prodigy for a reason. And if me being champion doesn't prove that, I think me being a two-time champion proves that.
No, facts. And you bring up Shawn Michaels, and I know that you've talked a lot about how much of an inspiration people like AJ Lee are to then getting to have father-daughter workouts with her husband and CM Punk and some of the legends that have come around NXT and just some of the people that are always around the Performance Center, Becky Lynch, Cena, Taker, like all these people, to name a few. If I can ask you, though, to pick out one thing, one person or one lesson that you were taught, whether they told you or it's just you like watching them, seeing how they, how they got to where they are, like what's that one lesson?
There's so many, especially when you bring up like all of those names. I do remember one of the first times that CM Punk ever got to watch me live. I had asked him if he could give me some feedback for my match, and he said he would in a second. And he was sitting right next to me watching another match. And as soon as it finished, I'm like, I'm scrolling on Twitter, and he like leans back and he sees what I'm doing on my phone, and he goes, "Stop looking at that. Stop looking at that. It doesn't matter what they say. It doesn't matter if they love you. It doesn't matter if they hate you. You keep on going out there and doing what you do and proving to everyone why you are in the spot that you are in." And that literally was just like very eye-opening, especially coming from someone like him that has done so much in the wrestling business. And clearly he doesn't give a damn about what anybody thinks about him. At 22 years old, it's obviously a little hard to not like kind of
social media is everything for us, right?
Yeah, but haters gonna hate. So I have this right here, and I have him to be able to give me that advice and steer me in the right direction. So yeah, very grateful for him.
I have to ask you because, I'm a huge fan of wrestling, and like I interviewed Shawn Michaels last week, and it still hit me like, I just talked to Shawn Michaels. For you, when Punk's in the building, whoever's in the building that you fell in love with, and you're like, oh snap, they're about to watch me wrestle. Is that like, is there a nervousness? Is there a different type of energy? Or it's like once your music hits, I'm already transformed and it's ready to go?
It's exactly that. So like, because obviously I feel that every single week with Shawn Michaels being my boss. And literally as soon as I come out of Gorilla, I have to face him and see whether he loved it or didn't love it. But it's definitely that where it's like the nerves sink in. But once I'm out there, I'm like, I got this. Like, I've been doing this for 9 years. I'm put in these positions because of what I can do in that ring. So, yeah, I think definitely like just being a part of NXT and having all this pressure like put around me has definitely built up my confidence in so many ways.
That's a perfect segue to my final couple of questions. But before we get into this matchup with Jordynne Grace, again, Roxanne Perez is here, NXT Women's Champion. She'll be taking on Jordynne Grace, TNA Knockouts Women's Champion, NXT Battleground tomorrow. Get your tickets, AXS.com. Watch it exclusively on Peacock, streaming at 4 p.m. All right, so Roxanne, you brought up pressure that you faced in your career that you've had throughout. This matchup, right, is like unprecedented. I don't think anyone thought there would ever be a chance for someone from another company in TNA to come in and possibly take an NXT or WWE title. And obviously the history that you guys have in your careers and your career in TNA and all this stuff, you added all in the pot. Is this the most pressure you've ever felt? Or is this the biggest matchup in your career, in your opinion?
I can definitely say that this is one of the biggest matches in my career, but this is definitely not the most pressure that I've felt. And I say that because, like I said before, I feel like I have been thrown in the deep end so many times within the past 2.5 years that I've been here in NXT, within my first month of getting signed, I was already in a breakout tournament and winning that. So, I feel like I've never been more ready for a big matchup in my entire life, and nothing to take away from Jordynne Grace because she is friggin' impressive. She's a freak athlete. She's a TNA Knockouts world champion. She's someone that I've wanted to step in the ring with for years and years and years now. We have parallels. We both started when we were 14 years old. So I can definitely say that we both want this the same, but I think that I want it just a little bit more.
So I was going to ask you if you had any final words for Jordynne, but do you want to leave it at that? I'm leaving it up to you. You're the champ.
I'll leave it at that.
There it is, ladies and gentlemen. Roxanne Perez, catcher, UFC Apex, Vegas. The road to WrestleMania next year starts tomorrow at Battleground. Let's get it. Roxanne, thank you so much for the time.
Thank you so much for having me.